Okay, we are on lesson 62, and this is displaying data in a stem and leaf plot and a histogram. So we've talked a little bit about stem and leaf plots before. It's when the first number goes in the left column on a table, and then we're going to list the second number on the right side of the line, and we're just going to keep listing it according to what that first stem number is. So in this first example, I've got high temperatures in the first 2 weeks of April. So there's 14 numbers here. We're going to make a stem and leaf plot out of this. So we're going to set up our table. The numbers on the left side are called the stems, and then the numbers on the right side are called the leaves. So I know I've got numbers in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. So I'm going to write a 5, a 6, and a 7. Then I'm going to go through and write down every ones place as a leaf. So I've got 53 and 55, 64, 66, 66, 67, 69, and then we've got 70, 71, 75, 76, 78, 78, 78. Okay, that would be our stem and leaf plot. We would title it High Temperatures in the First 2 Weeks of April. And then quickly we're just going to talk about how to make a key for this. So your key, you're going to label it, is just how things are written. So like, say if I was going to write 85 degrees, I'm going to put an 8 on the left side of the line, the bar from the stem and leaf plot, and a 5 to show that this is equal to 85 degrees Fahrenheit because that's what it's measured in. So your key just kind of gives you a hint at how to read the graph. So we can use stem and leaf plots to find the mean, median, and mode, and range of data. We've done that before. All a stem and leaf plot really does is put it in order from least to greatest, so it's really easy to see. One thing we haven't talked about is relative frequency, and that comes into play in a set of data. So relative frequency. And if you think about the word frequency, comes from frequent, which means like happens often. So when I think about relative frequency, I think about how often something happens. So this is just the number of times something happens, or the number of times a number shows up. So the number of times an event happens. And that is then divided by the total number of trials. So divided by the total, we're going to say number of trials. In most cases, it's the total number of how many numbers there are. So, for example, if we look at this first example up here, if I want to know the relative frequency of, let's say, 78, I'm going to count. How many times do I see the number 78? I've got 1, 2, 3 78. So 3 out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 numbers. So the relative frequency of 78 is 3 out of 14. You just count the times you see that number, divide it by the number of total numbers. Okay, that is the only real bit of new information for you there. The last thing we need to talk about is how to make a histogram. So I'm going to copy our data. Oops, try this again. We're going to copy our data from before so that we can make a histogram of it. So here's our stem and leaf plot. Now we're going to make a histogram. So a histogram shows the number of times something happens the same as a stem and leaf plot, but now we're going to do it in a more visual form. So all of our temperatures are between 50 and 80 would be the highest because 70 it's more than 70 degrees. So I'm going to make a table. And drawing our little graph here. Oh wait. So it's going to start at 50 degrees. Then we're going to go up to 60, 70, 80. If we were keeping on going, this would be 90 degrees. We don't have any in between 80 and 90, so we won't make any marks there. Then on these lines, we're going to have, it goes up, it occurs 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 times. Okay, so if we look, the number of times we have a temperature between 50 and 60 is 1, 2. So we're going to make a mark somewhere where you think 2 is. Just draw a line over to 60 and down. And that shows the number of times the temperature happened between 50 and 60 degrees. Now we're going to find the number of times we got a temperature between 60 and 70 degrees. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. So I'm going to draw, and in a histogram, the bars are connected. That's kind of the difference between a histogram and a bar graph. A bar graph shows more information in two, but right now we're only worried about the histogram. So I'm going to draw a line up to the 5 times, draw a bar down to the 70. Then we need to know how many numbers are between 70 and 80. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm going to draw a bar up to where I think 7 is, down to 80, and there we go. So a histogram just shows the number of times something happened. And I would title this Temperatures in April. This side on the left I'm going to call Frequency because it's the number of times something happened. And this is going to be Temperature. And I'm going to make a little note that it's in degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, so stem and leaf plots display the same type of data as a histogram. Both of them show frequency. It's just whether it's in more of a table or if it's more of a visual display. Remember, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. That's what I'm here for. And I will see you in class.